Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the webinar. We're going to be starting just shortly. Going to give everybody a few minutes to log in here. And we've got a couple notices up on the window there for you. We're very proud to be using a new form of webinar delivery, which helps us keep our prices down. And that's important to everybody. Now, you can make the player bigger or smaller by using the control and the plus keys on your keyboard. And then to return it to the starting size, you can use control and the minus signal. And what you do is hold the control key down and then press the plus or minus. And instead of control on a Mac, it's command. And depending on your connection, video may be lost momentarily, but we will resume when it will resume. You'll still hear the audio, but when the connection is restored, then you'll get the picture back. When the connection is lost, you're going to see a black screen with my ugly mug on it. I apologize, but that's just technology at work. So we're going to give this just a few more seconds, and then we'll get started. All right, well, let's get started here. I want to welcome you to the Body Language Training Academy. Now, today we're going to be talking about the missing link in horse handicapping, which is reading and understanding a racehorse's body language. In the webinar, you're going to meet the originator of the academy, and you're going to hear the background of the creator. We're then going to talk about the purpose and the scope of Body Language Training Academy. You'll see what indicators the horse is telling you if you understand his language. Now, I know you're reminded this in every webinar you're in, but please turn off your cell phones and your house phone and any other distractions from the session. Before you ask, yes, we are going to record this and we will have a replay up as soon as we can, probably within 10 or 15 minutes of the time that we close. Now, you can use the same link you used to get here to get to the replay. Now, let's talk about questions. We do our questions a little differently. You'll notice that the question box at the bottom of the main screen, at the end of our presentation is when you'll want to type in your Q&As. Now, if I'm unclear on any subject, type in your question as we go. And then if we don't cover them during the webinar, then I will answer, or Greg will answer, all of your questions after the webinar is over with by way of email. Now we got all of the housekeeping out of the way. Let me start by introducing Greg Lawler. Now give me just a moment to get the phone connection up here. Hang on. I want to introduce you to the man responsible for the creation of the Body Language Training Academy, Mr. Greg Lawler. Greg, we're happy to have you here today.
Delighted to be with you, Chet.
Very good. Well, listen, I know that way back when you started your career after graduating from Stanford as a developer. Isn't that right?
Well, not exactly. I went into the advertising business, and then in 1971, came to San Diego and started developing vacant land on the bluffs in Solana Beach, just above the racetrack. And then subsequently, the white buildings across from the racetrack, which I thought were ideal for people that enjoyed racing in the ocean, to take advantage of that piece of property. So that's how I got started.
All right, very good. How did you become interested in horse racing?
Well, my father was a big gambler, and he introduced me to horse racing. I lived about a mile from the San Diego racetrack. after graduation, and we used to go on the weekends with people I met, and we had a wonderful time. I enjoyed the sport. Didn't really understand how to handicap, but intelligently, but ended up having a great time betting the horses. And I knew that there was a way to make money at the racetrack. I just wasn't sure how to do it.
Okay. Now, I understand that you were serious enough at this at one time to sell pick lists at Del Mar, and if I remember right, you won some contests too, right?
Well, that's true. Actually, it's always been a hobby of mine. Horse racing is never a business. I never really spent a lot of time in it, but I decided to, because I had this information, the database I had created for strengths and weaknesses of the trainers and the trainer-jockey combination. So as a result, I published a 7-year database performance information that I marketed to the Southern California market. And then one year I decided, well, why don't I just take these picks and put a booth up? And so with the consent of Del Mar, we went out and offered them on a daily basis. They weren't handicapping selections. They were essentially strengths and weaknesses of trainers or high trainer-jockey win percentages. So they were more or less clues about how to separate horses for decision-making purposes at the racetrack that one year. We had a great time doing it.
All right, cool. How about those contests that you were in?
Yeah, we were also, Jerry Okanoff and I, who was a professional player, he and I got together and we started competing against the quote experts, the Bob Ikes and the John Lindos and those guys. Anyway, so one year they had a tournament and we ended up winning that contest on the last race, interestingly enough, with a very good trainer jockey combination that I had discovered was a good possibility. Paid a very nice price, like $17. So we won that contest and got the accolades for that, and it was a lot of fun.
Well, good. So you're a contest winner, and you actually made money selling your list at Del Mar. I hate to tell you this, but that makes you a professional.
I've been accused of that, since yeah. I'm a frequent traveler to the racetracks these days. But I'm not addicted. I just love the sport.
Well, cool. Okay, well, how did you first decide to do something with teaching people how to read the body language of a racehorse?
Well, that's an interesting question, because what happened was I got a hold of a book that Bonnie Ledbetter and Tom Ainsley had written, The Body Language of the Racehorse, and I thought, boy, this is something that the general public has no knowledge about at all. So, along with a good friend of mine, a producer, we got together and created a video, an hour video that was extremely popular and sold thousands of copies over the course of a couple of years. And I thought, this is it's a feature. It's a handicapping factor that nobody really understood. And so we explained it in great detail in this video, that once you handicap the race, you have to determine if your horse is ready to run that day. And as a result of that, we created a lot of fans for the body language aspect of it, and created the market for people to learn how to read the body language so they could make intelligent handicapping decisions at the racetrack.
Okay, well, that you said that was a long time ago. What made you decide to bring it back?
Well, there's a lot of new players in the business. Many of the old racetrackers have passed on, and there's a lot of new blood in the industry, and they're very interested in learning how to read the body language as a result of just the knowledge that we brought to the information age, if you will, and things have changed dramatically over the years with regard to the way people wager. It used to be 80% would go to the track, and 20% would wager from home or from a satellite. And that's completely changed. It's now the other way around. It's probably 80% home and satellite, as opposed to 20% at the racetrack. So we decided that this would be a great way to reintroduce a concept that is essentially timeless, Jen. I mean, there's really, things don't change. Horses' body language doesn't change from year to year. It's just really a perpetual with the horses. So as a result of that, we decided to reintroduce it to the handicapping public.
Well, terrific. Greg, listen, thanks for taking the time today to talk to us. And
sorry about that. Just as I hung up, somebody called the phone. Anyway, Greg, we want to thank you very much and let you know I'm Chet Bruce. You should know a little bit about me anyway. I owned a multi-store chain of, I was a retailer of bridal services, gowns, tuxedos, flowers, cakes, invitations, everything. I opened one of the first independent internet service providers back in 1995. And after selling that business, I became a local internet marketer. That grew into creating leads for local business and then taking those local professionals to the point of being recognized as the expert and authority in their field. Now, I've been following the horses since the mid-1970s. Then Greg taught me the rudiments of horse body language. Due to an experience I had watching the Preakness, I eagerly told him that I would help him develop the training program. And I'll tell you what I saw watching the Preakness on TV just a little bit later. Now, I want you to know that Greg and I are excited to be here with you today. And you're going to learn a lot. Right out of the box, you're going to hear something you never hear on webinars. Do not take notes. The reason we ask that you don't take notes is because you remember more than double the facts if you're not writing them down. Now, there's going to be a recording and a replay, so you can always come back to this session later. Also, at the end of the presentation, we're going to offer the opportunity for you to enroll in the Training Academy itself, and at a very affordable special price. And this is because of your relationship to our host. Now, for those that connect today, there's also going to be a very valuable bonus. So let's get started. Up front, I want to explain the purpose of Body Language Training Academy. That is how to read and understand what a racehorse is telling you before the race. Once you understand what he's telling you, you use that information to confirm your choice in the race. And even more important, to be able to spot the horse that can beat the favorite. The favorite, of course, is the horse with the most money bet on him at race time. The result of your knowledge will be that you will make fewer losing wagers, and the number of wins will increase. The average size of your winnings will also increase. Now think about this. Favorites, again, that's the horse with the most money wagered on him at post time, win 35% of the time about, and usually pay in the neighborhood of $5.20 or less. But our testing shows that by adding body language as part of your handicapping process, you can actually increase your win results. After training for racehorse body language was added to a handicapper skill, not only did the win rate go up, but the payout increased as well. Now, you're going to hear from Ari later on in the webinar when he talks about how body language affected his play. If you place exotic wagers, this third number is very important to you. The horses picked with racehorse body language finished in the money 73% of the time. Now, that is phenomenal. Now, we call racehorse body language the missing link in racehorse handicapping. Because it's a tool every handicapper should use, but only about 3% even begin to understand. By the time you leave today, you're going to understand what it is and have a good idea of how to use it. We have a jam-packed lesson for you today. Some of the things we cover may seem basic, but it's important that everybody on the call be on the same page. First, we're going to look at the role of handicapping, wagering odds and their importance in decision making. What is a favorite and what role does the favorite play? Just what is racehorse body language? How to use your knowledge about racehorse body language. Then we're going to show you what is in the body language training course, what to look for in the horse before the race, which horses win and which horses lose, and why. We're going to look at today's wagering challenges and the solutions to those challenges. You're going to see the compelling reason you should take the course and learn racehorse body language and what the knowledge of racehorse body language can do for you. Starting with handicapping. Handicapping looks at historical data, starting with the breeding, workout speeds, past performance, and even the jockey and trainer performance. Then they take into consideration the morning line odds and the final odds. Most of that information is available in the Daily Racing Form and other sources. This is where most players get the data to mark their picks. In the racing program, the morning line is the 7 numbers to the right of the horse's name you see outlined here in red. The morning line is the estimated odds that the official expert at the track thinks the odds will be on each horse in the race that day. In the final odds you see here in the column under word odds, the final odds are based on the amount of money actually bet on each horse. Now, experienced handicappers use the difference between the morning line and the final odds as one of the indicators of a horse's chance of winning or not. And in our graphic, we don't know what the morning line was on these particular horses. But if the horse was bet down, meaning the folks wagered more than the expert estimated, when that happens, it is because the crowd thought the horse had a better chance of winning than the expert did in his morning line. Now, I'm going to change horses here in the middle of the stream for just a moment, but there's good reason for it, as you will see. I want you to think about Michael Phelps, the swimmer, for a moment in relation to the odds of winning a race. Phelps has won just about every race he's ever swam in. If we were handicapping him, just like the vast majority of people handicap horses, we would assume that it would be a very safe bet for him to win today's race, wouldn't we? Well, what would happen if we added the principles of racehorse body language, and we might notice that Michael was limping as he walked around the pool. Maybe he was rubbing his shoulder and moving his arm around and around. Maybe he was coughing and sneezing. Maybe he was sore, or maybe he was sick. If that were the case, he would be showing signs that he was not 100%. Seeing those signs, we would be less sure of making our wager on him. Now, racehorse body language is just like that. A horse will show by his actions if he is or is not 100%. A very formalized description would be the art of picking the most likely winner of a race or eliminating the favorite in the race by observing the behaviors of the horse that are native to his being. A horse is an animal, and even though he's been domesticated, he still has natural instincts that rule his actions. These are as predictable as knowing it's not raining because there is no clouds in the sky, or the reverse, in estimating that it will rain because the sky is filled with dark black clouds. The first thing we need to do to understand the purpose of the body language training course, we need to examine some of the intimate details of the facts behind the raw data. In our talk here, when we say the favorite, we're talking about the horse that has the most money wagered on him at race time. When we say your favorite, we mean the horse that you feel will win. Now, 35 out of every 100 races won will be won by the favorite. That also means that 65% of the time that favorite does not win. Finding one of those 65% or confirming the 35% horse is the true purpose of the body language training course. According to gameofskill.com, the percentage varies with track odds. It is a given that the crowd is usually very accurate in their judgment. As we discussed earlier, final odds are determined by the amount wagered on a particular horse. When enough is wagered on a horse that drop his odds to winning at or below 1-1, the horse is said to be an odds-on favorite. It's at that point that the chances of a horse winning changes. As you see from this chart, an odds-on favorite may win as much as 90% of the time. If there is a horse that passes all of the indicators of racehorse body language with final odds of 5-1, running against a horse that has been bet down to 1-5, it would probably be a bad idea to wager on the higher odds horse because the odds-on favorite has a 1-5 win ratio of 83% of the time. Now, any way you look at it, we all want better odds of winning when we place our wagers. Let's assume the horse we picked earlier, number 3, the one with the red box around it, is at 8-5 3 minutes before post and shows signs of not feeling well. But number 1 passed all of the racehorse body language rules far above the favorite and was at 6-1. The odds of winning with number 1 just became better for us. Now let's look at body language. Let's start with the human form. Look at each one of these faces. Because we have lived with these human reactions or actions all of our life, we determine how these people feel almost immediately. We can tell if each one is happy, sad, angry, worried, scared. Just imagine your advantage if you could tell if your pick was happy, healthy, and ready to run before the race. Using racehorse body language allows us to understand if any horse is happy, healthy, and ready to run. We can then use that knowledge to either confirm our handicapped choice or to spot a horse that can beat him. When you apply those things you learn in the training academy, you will lose less and you will win more often. That's the true purpose of the body language training course, is to lose less and to win more. Now, I want to give you a demonstration of just how this works. I was watching on TV the 2016 Preakness. The 2016 Preakness was the race that made me decide to build this training course. They showed the horses in the paddock and in the warm-up on the track. The favorite was number 3, Nyquist. Nyquist was the horse that won the Kentucky Derby. In watching the post-parade and warm-up, I felt that Nyquist was not at his best that day. Nyquist's morning line was 3-5 and held through the day. He was the odds-on favorite. As we saw the previous chart, there was a 67% chance of his winning. But using body language, I saw that Nyquist may not have been at his best that day. My picks were number 5, Exaggerator, and Exaggerator had a morning line of 3-1 and was bet down 5-2. And number 1, Cherry Wine, and he looked really ready to run. Cherry Wine was way off the charts with a 20-1 morning line. But this shows the winner and the second place horse. Number 5, Exaggerator, won and paid $7.20. Number 1, Cherry Wine, came in second and paid $9.20. The $2 exacta paid $88.20. Now, these were picked only because of body language handicapping. In the training, we look at the horse and its separate body parts, and each have its own story to tell about the health and attitude of the horse. You'll learn how to do this on race day, not to look at what he did 2 weeks ago or in his workout the day before yesterday. We're looking at current information. Now, included in this course is terminology, head and neck, body, legs, jockey, and outrider. You'll see what makes winners and losers. And for lack of a better term, we include extras, which are important facts written about in the book, The Body Language of Horses by Tom Ainsley and Bonnie Ledbetter, and other points covered, not covered elsewhere in the program. Now, this is part of the actual video lesson in case studies. A webinar is not designed to serve streaming video, so these images may be a little jerky, especially if your connection is a little slow. But we put these here so you get a feel of what you're going to get in the training. These case studies are in the training so you can have practical experience in using your newfound knowledge to build your confidence before you log into TwinSpires or TVG for further practice. We're looking at the horse's head, his eyes, ears, neck, mane, and his tail. We're also looking at his gait and his stride and checking his muscles, his overall condition, his coat, and his attitude. We're also noting the actions of the jockey and outrider. We watch each horse very carefully. Now then there's a second video that will show the completion of the race. In the training, you'll be asked to read the horses yourself and pick the winner from a numbered list in the same format as our testing. If you don't see the indicators on the first try, your testing will tell you. Then you can go back and watch the warm-up again until you can see what we saw. Now, no one is going to pick 100% winners, but these studies are races where we have successfully picked the winner. So you know the body language indicators of the winner are there to be seen. Once you know how to spot the traits that identify the strengths and weaknesses of the horses racing today, we'll teach you how to practice without wagering till you are confident in your newly acquired skill set. In the next part of today's training, you're going to see each of the indicators we use to pick the probable winner of any race. Now let's go through just exactly what we're looking for when we view the horses. First, let's look at the horse's head. The movement of the racehorse's ears gives an indication of where the horse is focusing his attention. It's an indicator of his emotions. A horse can rotate his ears to cover about 280 degrees. If a horse is frightened, he will constantly move his ears to hear all around himself. Notice the ears here. One is pointing well to the rear and the other pointing almost directly at the camera. If a horse is angry, he's going to lay his ears back. When running, he will often lay them back also as an indicator that he is concentrating on where he is going. A horse will generally keep his eyes looking forward unless he is frightened, and then he will move his eyes and you will see the whites of his eyes. Seeing the whites of his eyes is never a good racing signal because he is afraid. Prior to the race, he will exert a great amount of energy and may not have enough to finish first. The horse's mouth becomes important when man gets involved, primarily the bit or other metal placed in his mouth. When he begins to be agitated, he'll work his mouth, teeth grinding on the bit and working his tongue. He may even begin to foam at the mouth a little bit. He can be agitated more by putting a lead chain through his mouth. Now here you can see the garbage that's been put in this horse's mouth. The purpose of it is to keep the horse turning into the curve of the track instead of going straight. He's stressed out, grinding his teeth, working his tongue, and foaming at the mouth. He is totally stressed out and burning energy, not aware of any other thing other than what's in his mouth. This is not good if he has a chance to win. Now, the neck of a horse is a primary indicator of his attitude and his health. In this post-parade picture, notice how the neck is up and arched and the chin tucked. This is a very positive indicator. When the horse is excited and ready to race, the mane stands up, as you see here. Now let's look at the body of the horse. Like a human, if the horse is overweight, he's not going to run well. Now, if you spot a horse, to spot a fat horse, look at his hind quarter. If he loses the definition between his body and his hip, he is fat. And no, this is not a racehorse, but rather an extreme example of a fat horse. Now, just as bad as being too thin. He will not have energy to run well if he is too thin. Here's a good example of a horse that is too thin. Notice the area between body and hip where there appears to be an indentation. That's called being tucked up. Here's what it looks like in the post-parade. And a horse that sweats when he's either overheated or anxious. Now, horses do not normally run except to play or escape when they're in danger. Under human direction, they exhaust and overheat themselves by running faster and further than normal. It's interesting to note you seldom see horses sweating from racing. You most often see it when they are stressed. Sweat appears, as you see here, and also in the hindquarters and where anything touches the body. The only sweat that is not negative is what is called kidney sweat. It occurs where the hind legs rub together and will appear if the horse is excited. Kidney sweat should not be considered bad unless accompanied by sweat on other parts of the body. Now, a racehorse is an athlete. Of course, muscles are important. Once you're trained as to what to look for, you'll see muscling is one of the most important factors of racehorse body language. What you're looking for is what's called a racing dimple. You can see clearly here in this picture. It's that line runs from the mid-leg all the way up to the base of the tail. Now, in a maiden race, the horse with the most defined racing dimple may have an advantage if all other factors are equal. Of course, well-defined chest muscles are important as well. A horse's coat is a true indicator of the horse's health. A healthy horse will shine, even on a cloudy, overcast day. He will just sparkle. And he will also be dappled. As you see here, dappling is the light spots that appear in the hide of the horse. Now, these are actually in the horse's hide. These will only be seen if the horse is in very top condition. The tail is an indicator of a very broad range of emotions in the horse. In a mood of excitement, the horse will carry his tail away from the body, as you see here. A very important behavior of the horse is tail popping. It is the movement of the racehorse's tail on a quick upward motion. You've seen this horse sweating. It's the same horse. Now, you've probably seen tail popping before and just didn't know what it was all about. It's done when a horse is very agitated or angry, and it's a very negative sign. So is kicking out. Now, here in just a second is there it is, the stop motion, so you can see exactly what the movement looks like. All right, now let's look at the horse, how the horse moves his legs and his feet. Gait is the way a horse expresses feelings when he walks. In this picture, you see him pounding his feet to the point of kicking up dirt. And in this picture, you see another horse just dragging his feet. Neither of these are a good sign. If the track is wet, you may see a horse walking like this. He's waddling. We call it the ickies. The horse feels the ground is not solid and thinks he may fall. He's placing each hoof as solidly as he can, using a very wide stance. Now, stride is the way the horse moves his feet while running or walking. Stride has nothing to do with emotions or health. It deals with the natural abilities of the horse. In this picture, we see a horse that moves his entire leg too far back at each step he takes. In a good stride, the foreleg would be more vertical and the hoof would be where the red arrow is pointing. What you see here is an inefficient movement. In this video, you'll see a very positive indicator called clearing. It's where the stride of the horse is long. It's when the back hoof is placed forward, like right there, of where the forefoot was placed when he was walking. This last horse step covers a good 8 to 12 inches. Watch it. Okay, now the actions of the jockey and the outrider are good indicators of the horse's attitude, both good and bad. This video, you see the jockey has no rein on the horse at all. The outrider might as well not be there. I want you to notice the gait of the horse, the mane, the neck, the tail, and the outrider. The gait is listless. The mane is down, not standing up. The neck is not arched and the tail is down. The outrider is not even holding the horse's lead. That horse is not going to go anywhere today. Now, this is a picture of an outrider that needs to keep the horse under close control, and the horse does not like it. This horse wants to run and is being held back. Now let's talk about winners and losers. There are 4 types of horses that win 90% of their races. Let me introduce you to them, and then we'll talk about the horses that lose their races. First, the sharp horse. This one is seldom seen, but when they do appear, it really pays to pay attention. Then the fit and ready horse. He's showing signs of good health and he has an eagerness to race. The ready horse is cool, calm, and ready to race today. The dull horse is not showing any indicators of being outstanding. In the Q&A, I'm usually asked how a dull horse can win. It's simple. He will win in a race where all of the horses are dull, but he is the best. This is the kind of race where you will have a great advantage over everyone else wagering on the race. This situation usually occurs at the smaller tracks and almost never at the major tracks. Now, there are 5 types of horses that lose their races. By the time a frightened horse reaches the starting gate, he's only ready to hide away from the other horses. He's expended all of his energy and he's done. And an angry horse comes out of the gate. He's expended so much energy, he has nothing, absolutely nothing left to race with. The way a horse feels when overheated is the same as you feel. All he wants to do is go to sleep. Now, when a horse is cold, he just wants to stand and shiver. Now, this one you have to watch in the warm-up, since once he starts moving, he may come to life, but then again, he may not. Just like you, if he's hurting or sick, he will not perform well enough to win. Think Michael Phelps with a sore shoulder. So, that is the horses and some of what you need to look for. Now, back in the day, it was different since you had to go to the track to wager. In all honesty, today, about 20% of all wagers are still placed at the track. And those people who go to the track, who understand racehorse body language, will experience easier evaluation. That's because of viewing the horses up close in the paddock and better viewing in the warm-up area. However, those that don't go to the track, that's 80% of the players, have an entirely new set of challenges. Those players wager from home watching video, or video from the paddock and warm-up, video from sources like Twin Spires or TVG. Once you understand racehorse body language, visit all of these resources and choose the one that works best for you. Now, you can also go to satellite facilities like this room at Del Mar. The challenge is the same here as from home or other satellite locations. It's hard to do proper racehorse body language looking at a monitor, and that is where Body Language Training Academy comes into play. Our complete training is monitor focused. That means simply we are not only training you to evaluate the horses from the racetrack, but also training you to do racehorse body language from the comfort of your own home or from a satellite location. You will use it to confirm your choice or eliminate your favorite and to spot his competition. When you learn how to do that, you will lose less, and those reduced losses can total some pretty big numbers by the end of the year. But the other half of the equation is you will also win more. Now, you may be very good at handicapping, but by adding racehorse body language, you will raise your averages. But if you don't practice, your results may be less. It's up to you and your individual skills. But our testing has shown that you can do better. It goes without saying, We can't guarantee any kind of results because it's up to you. Now, I want to introduce you to Ari Othitis. I think that's the way it's pronounced. Ari is a serious amateur whose handle in Twitter is @HeavyGambler. We chose Ari to evaluate our training program because he was serious and we knew that he would learn the material and use it. Just so you know, we did not pay Ari, and he is not the owner or management. He's not on the ownership or management team. His only compensation was the training program, and that was at no cost to him. On November 26, he tweeted out, "I just won 104.90 on race 7 at Tampa Bay." Now, I want you to hear the edited version of the interview that I did with Ari. And if you give me just a second here, I'll set it up. And if you want to hear the whole thing, by the way, that web address down at the bottom of the screen, the HTTPS, whatever, you can go there and you can hear the entire interview that we did with Ari. Okay, so just hang on a second.
And they were just about the right length of time to convey the material.
Oops, I did a little mistake there. Let me back this up and get it started over for you.
When I got the course, I thought the videos were pretty good at getting the messages across in a clear and concise manner. And they were just about the right length of time to convey the material. The format of learning one thing at a time, helps me to absorb the ideas, When you have too many things at once, it's hard for people to learn, but here you can just learn one idea, and that made it very easy.
All right, cool. So it didn't scare you when you first went into the course. Okay.
No, it was much easier than reading books, that's for sure. Yeah.
In a video than you can in just books and still pictures, right? So
that's for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So after using after you completed the course and after using the principles for a few days, tell us what your first impressions were about what you were going through.
Well, I think what you notice right away, I think, is how many details you miss when watching the horses. You see them come out, you might see them warm up, but until you actually take the course, you're not going to realize how many things you're missing. And you start to see them more as individuals. So you'll see that different age of horses will act differently, and they'll have peculiar behaviors. But when you look at the patterns and you pick up a few, you'll find yourself on horses that you wouldn't have played otherwise. And that was the big help.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Now, how many races did you record by the time you completed your total evaluation of the course?
I had done 97 races from various tracks and services.
Okay. And tell me about your final results from all of your testing.
Well, even though the sample size was small, I found a good percentage of the horses were either they had won or were in the money. So I had about 39% winners at an average mutual of $10.
Okay, and is that pretty good?
Well, it's more than I was handicapping at before I took the course.
Oh, super. Okay, all right. I remember you telling me somewhere along the line about the course helping you with not only picking the winners, but throwing out favorites?
That is correct. I mean, it's not so much about making money. Making money is one way to look at things, but it's also about how much money you save. If you see a horse, let's say, that has 4 seconds in a row, and you say, well, I'm going to put this horse to place, and then you go out, get out there, and you look and you see the horse has a few physical attributes that are on the negative side, and then you hold back, and you see the horse run last all the way. Now you have a positive feeling, you've saved money, and it makes a difference on the bottom line, the way with takeout is and how heavy the competition is. You save a couple bets a day, or even a couple big bets a week, you're going to have a lot of money at the end of the year.
Harry, from a financial standpoint, for the serious or the amateur player, what kind of an impact can this course have on them?
Well, I think if I was to look at it for playing for a whole year, let's take a basic handicapper, who might make 20 plays a week, let's say $100 a play. This typical handicapper might have a hit rate of 35% at an average mutual of $7. So for a year, you might spend $100,000 and expect to get back about $122,000. But by adding physicality, with the results that I had in the test period, one could spend the same amount of money, $100,000, but perhaps get back $195,000. That is a big swing with just adding a few small tools to your game.
Yeah. Okay. All right. The last thing you said there was bet $100,000 and get back $190,000. Is that right?
Yeah, because again, if a person just had to hit, if they just hit a few more, right?
Right.
At the average higher mutual, if over the long haul, it would be that much. I mean, it's not exact, right? Because you make 20 plays, right? But you know how it is.
Right. Well,
so sometimes when people say, well, if I get a $10 win instead of 7, how much of a difference is it? Well, over the whole call, it is, right?
Right. Okay.
But,
all right. Cool.
But,
okay. Well, that number kind of surprised me, but very pleasantly. Anyway, okay. One last question at you. Have you got any recommendations for the people that are listening to this today about what they should or shouldn't do as far as this course is concerned?
Well, I think, if you're looking for an edge, it's all about edges. And I think even if you are in other horse ventures or even have horses as pets, this is going to be a good course for you. But as a handicapper, with everybody pretty much doing everything the same, adding physicality to your game is going to make a big, big difference. And think about it this way. I've been playing for about 25 years. I can't put a price on how many times I thought a horse was on the fence when studying, but then had to be included based on the physical inspection or left out for the same reason. It's a very psychological game. Most good players fail not because they lack the skill, but because they have to overcome high takeouts and losing streaks that will break them. Imagine the positive benefit of knowing that you can break a tie between two choices by taking the better-looking animal or the boost of saving money when you notice the top choice won't run their best today. The potential is limitless.
Wow. Okay. Well, Harry, listen, I really appreciate you spending this few minutes with us today.
Okay, I hope that meant something for you. Okay, now think about this. Favorites, the horse with the most wagered on him, win 35% of the time and usually pay in the neighborhood of $520. Using racehorse body language, Aries' win rate increased and the average payout doubled. And finishing in the money 73% of the time is phenomenal. That number should at least raise the eyebrows on any exotic wager player. And remember, my experience with the Preakness, pick the first and second horse from a TV set. All right, now we just received this email from Ari, and I include this here to remind you that the other than major tracks will do better using body language because there are usually fewer top conditioned healthy horses running in the field. Most or all of the horses at the major tracks will be in pretty much top condition at race time. But the body language training still works. Remember my experience at the Preakness. All right, now the true purpose of the body language hasn't changed, to lose less and to win more. And through testing, it's proven that it's reached its stated purpose. Okay, now it's time to review what we've learned. First, do you want to win more or lose less? I'm sure that's a resounding yes. So let's review what we've covered in this webinar. This is the final puzzle piece you've been looking for, the handicapping tool that's used by less than 3% of the most successful handicappers. Master the information in this educational video training course, you will own that competitive edge. Once you own it, you are well on your way to more successful and profitable handicapping. A few of the features included in the training are understanding what a sharp horse really is, what is the fit and ready horse, how to identify a lethargic horse, spotting the dull, nervous, or frightened horse, understanding what each body part of the racehorse tells you, how to evaluate paddock, post-parade, and pre-race warm-ups, and what being a dappled horse really means. You're going to learn the positive signs to look for, how to recognize the non-winning signs. Use your newfound knowledge to defeat false favorites and put you way ahead of the traditional handicapper. In every lesson, you'll be given special video section for monitoring focused training. Now, this is going to include stop action and slow motion for instant understanding of the material, as well as actual races where body language has been successful in choosing the winner and showing the process in making that decision. Now, this training has been locked away in the Lawler family vaults for 20 years, but now it's updated to include off-track processes and is now available for you to own and use. The things included in the course, there are 14 total training videos and 8 lessons. The first lesson will describe the 9 classifications of the racehorse and show the important parts of the horse body that are communicating with you. Then you'll be taught the specific signals the horse is given. The lessons describe the horse classification and the specific signals that put him in that class. Identifying the class will determine the possibility of the horse winning his race, or it will eliminate him. Lesson 7 will give you practice videos that will allow you to hone your skills before you put them into practice. And Lesson 8 gives you the guidance on how to go forward using your training. Run your own numbers. Do it now. Write down the amount you wager on losing races, not the total amount you lose. Then subtract the 20% of that number. Now remember, the 20% number is what you can expect. If you hone your skills, it can be more. Ari had a win rate of 37% and an average payout of $10. Actually, I think he said 39%. Close enough. Again, run your own numbers. Do it now. Write down the percentage you win and the average payout. Now adjust those numbers using Ari's averages. Now take those numbers and multiply them out for a year. That's the value of this training to you. Keep that in mind as we look at the next couple of slides. Let's put everything in proper perspective. Because of your host sponsorship here today, we've generated a package that has some bonuses. Now, these bonuses build even more value than just your added winnings and your savings from losing less. So let's look at that package. First, the course you get, the entire training course, which sells on our website for $397. Thousands were sold. Thousands of the video tapes, or VCRs, tapes, were sold at $50 each. Now, that was 30 years ago. All right. Now we're including, just for this webinar, free telephone support for 14 days. This is a hard one to put a value on because it is intangible, but can be worth many times the $200 stated value. If it clarifies just one thing that makes you a better body language handicapper, it's worth much more than that. Just one thing that gives you a higher than average save rate and win rate. And it's also there because we want all of you to be successful. Now, this is only included for those that sign up today and is not available for those who sign up at the replay after the webinar. So that gives you the total value of the package we're offering at $795. Of course, when you add the lose less and win more, that value is greatly increased. Now, here's today's offer. The regular price for the course, as stated on our website, is $397. Because of the special relationship with your host today, you're going to get a substantial discount. Today on this webinar, you will actually save half. The price today is just $197. Training and bonuses worth just short of $800 for only $197. Now, let's be upfront here. This is a great deal for anyone that plays. You heard directly from Ari. Ari is a good handicapper, but by adding body language, he became a great handicapper. Guys, this is not hard to learn, but if you're halfway into handicapping, you just cannot pass up this deal, and do it today. Now, for those, oops, sorry, didn't mean to do that. If you're halfway into handicapping, you just cannot pass up this deal, and do it today. For those that have asked if there was to be a replay, the answer is yes, but it will only be up for a few days. And remember that the personal one-on-one phone call is only available for those that order today. So when you do order from this page, you get the special pricing that was offered on this webinar. This outlines the order process. When you click the running horse, you'll be taken to PayPal. Now, of course, the people on today's webinar won't be taken to PayPal, and you won't pay $197 because you're doing us a favor by being here. And I want you to know that in return, we want you to take this training course. We want you to take complete advantage of it. Okay, so please do. Anyway, just click on the racehorse and follow the instructions, and you will be taken to a page that will give you the login for your training. Okay, now it's question time. So do me a favor, and in that space down below the monitor that you're looking at there, write in your questions so that, and we promise that Greg and I will answer every one of them. And for those of you that are going to sign up, that have signed up, that will sign up, congratulations. You will not regret taking the training course. Okay, just press the button below. We'll give you another 2 minutes, and then the webinar will go down. And I want to thank you today, and I want to give thanks to your host today, which is Greg Lawler. We had fun. I hope you learned something. I hope you had a little bit of fun too. And I want you to know I'm looking forward to talking to each and every one of you on your one-on-one phone calls. All right, so let us know if we screwed up today. If I screwed up today, if Greg screwed up today. Well, Greg didn't do much except say hello to you. But anyway, I'm going to go away now, but this is going to stay up for another 2 minutes to give you time to think about it and to place your order. And then this will go away, and about 10 or 15 minutes later, the replay will be up. So for now, goodbye and good luck.